everyone is talking about this, but in the PTR, Blizzard just dropped the absolutely craziest cosmological book that overwrites the chronicle and any other cosmological chart that you're familiar with, and it pretty much explains everything that has happened in Warcraft so far. This is the Ethereal perspective, and so far it is the most realistic. It finally gave us real insight into what Azeroth really is, gives us a new model we had never before seen. We learn about how planes are ranked by energy levels. So, for example, Twisting Nether is high energy, Void is low energy. This explains why the demons were so easily able to invade, and the Void can't, as they need energy to go up. So you need energy to go up, but it's super easy to go down. Even crazier than this is the hint that Azeroth is what is holding this entire mechanism together, and soon a massive migration will happen from the bottom that will break the universe. I know, sounds super crazy, but just hear me out, it's worth it. This is the biggest lore groundbreaking news we got possibly in the past decade. While having the best deals on the market for all games and software, Gamivo just added mobile top-ups for your favorite mobile games with the best prices that you can get with my Gamivo link in the description below. Best of all, if you use my code DORON, your discount will be even bigger, so make sure to use my link in the description and the code and check out Gamivo. So this is something that has definitely gone under the radar, and this is literally a groundbreaking book, possibly the biggest cosmological bit of lore since the Shadowlands and maybe even the Chronicle. Think of it like the Rosetta Stone for cosmic lore. In the past, we've been getting various hints for the cosmological charts. First, we got the super simplistic chart from the Titan perspective with 6 cosmological forces. Then we got the brokers in the Shadowlands, creating a sort of updated version that is kinda close to this and challenging everything we had known so far, and even introduced the first ones. And then in this expansion we got a relative view on magics and how all that works, but that wasn't really a big deal. Just now we have learned that the Shadowland brokers are indeed transformed Ethereals, but now in Karesh we found their book, and this is one of the biggest, most groundbreaking ones out there. Now there are about 4 large pages, and they wrote this so confusingly with a ton of jargon that you might just completely skip this if you see this in the game, as it's written like a science book. But if you really analyze it, skip the jargon, get into the details, break it down, it's so insane, and it might just reveal what Azeroth actually is, and it doesn't really change the cosmology that we know, but it explains pretty much everything that has happened up to this point, and it also foreshadows what is going to happen soon. So check this out. I'll try to simplify this as much as possible in a common language, but you can of course read it yourself to get your own interpretation. So the Ethereals, as super ancient and intelligent cosmological beings, give us a really unique perspective of the cosmology and kind of explain what really happened with the Shadowlands and what Sylvanas meant with this world as a prison and the jailer with the entire what is to come. So apparently there is a rule in the universe, and the universe is based on energy. In fact, all planes are organized based on energy levels in this like totem pole, and the Ethereals say that we have high energy and low energy planes. The entire gist of the matter is that traveling down from high energy to low energy is natural and easy, but traveling up is incredibly difficult and requires immense energy to happen, but it can happen. Just this sentence alone explains all of the WoW lore so far, pretty much everything that happened, because, for example, life is a high energy plane, death is a low energy one, so going from life to death is kinda natural. Going the other way around is super difficult, but it can be done. This essentially explains resurrection. However, the Void on the other hand is a low energy plane, and going into our plane is super difficult. This is why the Void Lords can't manifest themselves. As I said, going from low to high energy requires new energy. Now, let's really look at what they wrote. So, we got 2 energy levels, as I said, high and low. High energy planes are, according to the Ethereals, light, fire, air, spirit, and the Twisting Nether. On the other hand, low energy planes are death, decay, earth, water, and the void. Now, this itself is just a classification. The real banger of this document is a brand new concept that I'll get to in a bit just as we figure this one out, but Blizzard just introduced a brand new plane called the untethered space, and this is apparently the in-between plane where souls and energies form. They also talk about this glitch they can't seem to figure out, where souls don't really go where they're supposed to, and almost certainly this is explaining what is going on with Azeroth. Azeroth may be creating this glitch. I know right now all this might sound like mumbo jumbo, but let's simplify it even more. So all of this doesn't really retcon the first ones because they may have been the ones that created or designed this specific order, but the big use really is that high energy can easily dominate. This is why the demons or the Twisting Nether were such a problem since the existence of time. They could easily transport themselves down. Also, the titans are of the high energy plane. This is why the void is jealous of their power, because they're from the low end of the spectrum and they need massive energy to come up. Now, this by itself explains the entirety of the Shadowlands and the entire prison that we've talked about. So the big deal is this untethered space. This is like a limbo, the in-between planes. Untethered space is a safety net where souls enter to avoid falling deeper down the energy chain. This pretty much explains the resurrection, undeath, and everything in between. Literally, when our characters die on Azeroth, they go into this limbo. This is why the angel lady can resurrect you and everything is suddenly black and white. This is also why souls can linger and why we have all these undead. This also explains how the Kyrians are literally stealing us for themselves. Naturally, we would fall into the Shadowlands, but we don't, and instead, Shadowlands has flying guardians that take us from this limbo to their own realm physically. They do this because they need energy, and if they weren't aggressive, they would have a drought just like they recently did. They literally steal us and use our energy and then transfer this energy to Otherwill to resurrect nature spirits, which creates a cycle. So this is probably a deal Elune maybe made with her sister if she is her sister. On the other hand, the void seems to destroy planets, so it constantly destroys energy so that realms like the light one don't get too powerful. However, this here is the key part. This is Azeroth, and I know it's a bit confusing, but just stay with me for a second. So, the Ethereals mentioned this murmuration paradox, a glitch, and they discovered that sometimes anomalies happen and souls don't go down the chain like they're supposed to. This is a real mystery, and they can't really figure out what is going on, why some souls are not going down. It is unpredictable. However, they end this document with a terrible foreshadowing, and they say that soon, possibly a future event may happen where civilizations might need to flee from one plane to the other, a diaspora will happen, and I'm almost certain this is talking about midnight and this void migration to our plane through some giant energy source, which is going to break this entire balance and this entire mechanism. I don't know about you, but to me this pretty much explains the entire cosmology as we know it. This is a very fragile, sort of imposed and neat balance that keeps the universe going. Each plane gives and takes energy. Now, if the higher energy planes start hoarding energy, the low ones are going to die out, and this is why they're going crazy. This is why the void is constantly attacking. This is why the Shadowlands is attacking. They need this energy to survive. However, if suddenly through Azeroth these guys move up the planes, it is going to destroy the entire balance. It might just break the mechanism. This is the what is to come that the jailer guy has been talking about. Now, this is when Azeroth comes in, and while they don't outright say it, I'm almost certain this is what they mean. And I think Azeroth may be the source for this glitch, this malfunction, and Azeroth also, more importantly, might be what is holding the entire mechanism in place. It's probably the center of this entire mechanism. So, for the longest time, it has been portrayed as a super powerful world soul that everyone wants, and since this model ranks realms by energy, Azeroth may be at the very top, and this is why Azeroth is a target for planar migration and extraction of energy. Think about it, if the Void gets a hold of this power source, they can just move up and become the dominant and the only realm, while the Order realm and the Light are all going to go down the totem pole. Now, they're obviously hinting that a massive cosmic event is coming, which is obvious. I mean, the Void invasion, Azeroth is the target. However, I think Azeroth is actually creating this glitch and messing everything up, and that might be because of free will. Azeroth is transforming, giving free will, and messing up this robot-like mechanism, and this is what is causing a disbalance. With free will, we can actually escape this process, kind of like what Sylvanas did. Based on everything we know, I'm almost certain now that Azeroth is neither a Titan nor a Void Lord or anything of that sort. I think Azeroth is actually what is holding this entire thing together, and whoever gets a hold of Azeroth is the one that controls the universe and becomes the dominant plane, and this is why everyone and their mother is after us, from the Light to Order to the Void and the Shadowlands. Whoever gets a hold and takes Azeroth for himself wins the primal cosmological battle. This also explains why like half of the cosmological forces are seemingly on our side while the others are just kinda outright evil. For example, Light and Order seem like decently aligned with us but not really our allies, but that is because they don't really need to destroy us. They just need to make sure the low energy guys don't get us, because if they do, their own realms are going to get destroyed. So the Light and Order just want us to exist, not be interfered with, while the Void and Death just wanna take all of us for themselves. Sargeras probably figured this mechanism out. He wanted to break Azeroth, break this entire chain, because really this is a never-ending cycle, so you're stuck like a hamster in a wheel. He probably realized for Order to dominate, they need to be the dominant realm. He might have even wanted to claim it for himself. However, I really think the Ethereals are onto something here. No one is really talking about this because so far it is a super confusingly written document, but this is the real game changer that really changes everything we had known about the Warcraft universe so far. Thank you for watching. Check out my video on the new Azeroth lore and the plot of Midnight by clicking on the screen, and check out my new Roman Empire video I recorded live in Malta by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.